Hello and welcome back to Black Girl Couch Reviews. I'm your host Christina. We are back for another episode of The Flash. After a 3-week hiatus, we have our favorite superhero back on our screens. This is season 7, episode 8, The People vs. Killer Frost. This episode was written by Jonathan Butler and Gabriel Garza, directed by Suds Sutherland. And I gave this episode a 7.5 out of 10. It wasn't terrible. It just was really hard connecting to the actual court case, mainly because it was fabricated around a lot of bullshit. And I'm really upset for the people who asked for this. I'm just throwing that out there right now. Oh, she needs to be punished for her crimes. Why? Why? Not because you're not wrong, but nobody actually wants to see it happen. Boring. It's not very interesting. And if we're being transparent, I didn't give a fuck when Barry was on trial. It's like, this is not, I don't care watching people give, I don't care. I just, those things will never interest me in TV shows. But that is where we spent most of the episode, but we had some development on the whole, Force's side of things, as we may have taken out of Force tonight. That was pretty much the shocker of the episode. And quite frankly,
I told you that bitch crazy.
The minute she showed up, everything about her was suspect. Now I'm thinking they beat her ass because she came for them first. And that's what happened to her. They all ganged up because she was like, oh, okay, you trying to snatch us out of existence, whether we are culpable of anything or not. So let's start with the Caitlin side of the story. And Frost, she's on trial. I'm not going to go scene by scene about the trial. The weirdest part is that I understand saying Killer Frost because that's the nickname she went on when she was a criminal. But the fact that the writers didn't think at any point to say, well, Your Honor, I just want to point out, while she may have attempted murder, she did not actually murder anyone. And then all of a sudden this jumped on to, well, she has to be forced if found guilty to take the metahuman cure. That's Cisco invented.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
And Cisco somehow developed into Cisco's biggest fear. Like, he ends up inspiring humans to find a way to defeat. Because it feels like with this whole arc, that's kind of where they were previewing. If you never watched Legends of Tomorrow, you don't know that in the future, in that timeline about some seasons ago, like, metahumans were outlawed. Didn't matter if you were good or bad. You were all a problem and you were all hunted. And it started off with this idea of, well, if you do a crime using your powers, you then should have your powers taken away. And I get this whole debate in the argument, but I kind of was with Kramer on this one. I don't know what it says about me, but I get what you're saying. Like, the cure is supposed to be a voluntary thing if people want it. Like, don't force it on people. But as a criminal, yeah, if you're using your powers to do something of criminal activity, why would you, not having said power, oh, it's part of my identity? And you also did it for terrible things. I mean, and I'm not even talking in the Frost case on this one, but I don't know. Yeah, everyone could change over time, yada yada. But I think if it were a more severe case that they were presenting, like, I don't know, Reverse Flash, would we really be having this conversation? Because Barry was so ready to do it. He was like, this could take anybody's powers? I mean, anytime he has a chance to get a one-up on Reverse Flash, he's giving it consideration. He ain't being like, oh, your power. Barry's the first one, actually, to be like, you guys made this fucking cure. What did you expect to happen? Except people using it to defeat people who continuously come back as bad people. But this was all, for some reason, dumped off into Frost's whole trial. And I mean, once again, it felt like everyone in her scenario that she did end up hurting all were like, yeah, it's cool now. We're all good. She's changed. She's a better person. It was the same bullshit over and over again. And I really didn't even care because, you know, while Kramer is right, you did give yourself up when you were surrounded. So that's not really giving yourself up. Like, you were kind of cornered, and yes, you could have ran away at that point. So it should count for more than, you know, what she tried to give it to her for. And then we'll get to Kramer in a minute because she's a character I want to like so much, but then they write her lines to make sure she's still the bad guy in the situation to make the audience feel more empathetic for Frost. So then she gets lost in there. And I'm still mad that no one brought up the fact that she ain't killed nobody. I also felt like Allegra, who suddenly just became her cheerleader, and Cisco to a certain extent. You know, he don't want his gear to be used in any capacity. You know, he patented that shit, but clearly he doesn't have ownership. So him wanting to neutralize the stash that for some reason they have at CCPD and not at a lab. Okay. I get him wanting to, but Allegra, who continues to act like she didn't, like, you weren't around during those days, so you kind of really can shut the fuck up. You have no say in this fight. None whatsoever. You only knew the person you knew. You can't speak on any behalf of what came before it. So you just being involved feels pushy. And I've been feeling that way quite often. She's another character that I want to like way more than I do. And I'm not sure what it is exactly that doesn't feel organic about her. The way in which Chester, I don't have the same type of issue with. But Allegra, her scenes feel a little bit more, I don't know. What's the word I'm looking for? Just dropped in there. Her whole character just feels dropped in there sometimes. If you're not with CCPD, I kind of don't need to see you all the time around Star Labs. I just don't. I don't. She does have a power. Maybe if she was in the field a little bit more, or they were trying to utilize her like that, I don't know. Oh, I guess that's a perfect segue because I didn't bring it up at the top of the episode. But if you did not know, Carlos, Valdez, and my baby Tom Cavanaugh are not coming back to The Flash in season 8. And a lot of contracts still need to be signed, I heard. There's a lot of bulletins that keep popping up about how Grant Gustin might not be coming back. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I think that for the right price, he would at least take it to 10 seasons. But after 10, I think it's up for debate. Well, why not get that syndication money? You're already like 2 years there. I mean, that's not much to get. And you got a baby to feed now. But we knew about, at least I knew about Carlos since season 5. So this is not really a surprise, the way in which they've kind of accommodate his story. But when you don't know if someone's coming or going, that's really hard to do. And explains the bit of schizophrenia around what exactly his arc be doing half the times. But he is a beloved character since season 1, so we're definitely going to miss him. Hopefully he can just do some, guest starring. That would be nice. And then Tom, I get it as well with him. I love Tom Cavanaugh. Even with these episodes now, I'm like, man, it's really missing Tom. Just miss his interaction with some of the cast. But I do get he's really played different variations of the same character for 7 years now. We've all made comments about how it's rather stale, and there's not much else he could do except, we were all kidding, maybe we'll get HR, but they said fuck that too. But he's also an older gentleman. He might want to move on to other things besides being on, the same show. So I get it, and definitely Carlos wants to. For 5 seconds, I thought it was going to be Daniel Panabaker, but I think I've made it very clear that this is the best she gonna get, so why would she give it up? Otherwise, Batwoman is where her acting chops are at. speaking of acting chops, that also was very lackluster in this arc. And the funny thing is, it's like, how do you have two people in one scene and one is doing an extremely better job than the other one is doing? I don't get it. Because Frost seemed like, maybe just because she's not that emotive type of character, it's easier and she doesn't have to be emotional. Where you have Daniel Bannebaker, or I should say, Caitlin, who has to play an emotional part of this relationship, and that's just not her strong suit. So she always comes off the worst of the two. That probably makes a whole lot more sense. But back to this whole, they're going to go to the CCPD lab, or just to the police station. Allegra, of course, bumps into Kramer. And I'm from the Citizen. We're doing a story. Then all of a sudden the lights start being tampered with, and she don't think for 5 seconds, you know what? Y'all up to some shit. All of y'all is friends of Frost. You're on the stand talking about how you're friends, and now you're creeping around with this cure, and you've made it very vocal about you don't think it's right. Again, you had to dumb down the character of Kramer just to do this. However, and again, I don't even know why they didn't think about how this would backfire. Because they destroy all the metahuman cure, but you know she had one up her ass to make sure this went down. Because that seemed to be more her mission than her paying for her crimes. It was more like, no, I need you to take this cure so that you're not a metahuman anymore. And I think that maybe this can come back down the line. That what Joe said to her at the end of the episode is like, you need to check which side of the line you are, man, because you clearly have it out for metahumans, and you saying you don't, but your actions are speaking for themselves. But why didn't they not think that Frost would be blamed for the tampering, and that the camera footage was tampered with? Even though, how do you explain that? Like, she was in jail, but she could have paid her criminal friends or her actual friends, because that's exactly what happened. So while on the one end, no, there is no on the one end. She was absolutely right. This is stupid. Caitlin confessed to the judge the whole entire thing and explained to me why Caitlin was not in cuffs.
You're fucking a white male! So? You're a white man!
So apparently she gets to go out on bail. That's nice. But I think the same thing happened with Barry. She talks to Caitlin, and then again, that not so great acting. She's like, oh, I don't want to lose my sister. Okay, but also your sister had a criminal past. And again, while everyone involved in said criminal past don't give a fuck, apparently, you know, if going to jail is what she got to do. I don't know about life in prison, though. Like, that seemed really extreme. But then again, they didn't really want her to go to jail. They just wanted her powers taken away. So I think she was trying to make kind of a monumental case so that it could set a precedent going forward. And if she's ever able to do that, that's exactly how we'll slide into that. And like I said earlier, I think this may go into Cisco's greatest fear, since they're kind of teasing that a little bit more. I knew there was a reason why they didn't show it. Then Kramer and Frost have a heart-to-heart. And in this heart-to-heart, Kramer's motives once again became questionable. And this is just, to me, the writers trying to make one person less sympathetic. I don't even know, because the story didn't make sense. Oh, we thought he was a hero, but he wasn't a hero. One, are they talking about Firestorm? I know Ronnie ain't around, or not the other Firestorm, but we had a whole reset. So people, metahumans can come back, which means there's a possibility that Ronnie can come back. And she did say it was a fire meta. So maybe that's going to get her to start looking for her one and only. Because this sure as shit ain't going to be that dude in prison. And we all knew I knew she was going to prison at the end of this episode. Because why set up that one guy going to prison and then their whole back and forth if we weren't going to do it again? Of course. So, yeah, her story was, yeah, my army unit got killed because of this meta. And I'm like, but how is this Frost's fault? Like, I was thinking her motivations would be at least personally inclined. Like, hey, because of this Frost battle, my cousin got fucked up or some shit. No, they was just like, I had one bad meta experience where I thought they were a good person. They turned out to be a bad person. And now I had to watch people I love die because of it. And now I'm just taking it out on you for some reason.
That just makes no fucking sense. I mean, it's just bullshit. Fuck. Oh my.
I'm going to blame it on COVID. And we're going to leave it at that. The snake dude guy, I keep forgetting his name. He keeps showing up to me. You took one for the team, man. Is his name Norval? I don't even know why, but I could just watch him and Frost, and we could just cut Caitlyn out the picture. Can we please? We really don't need we don't need a medic. We don't. But the fact that he just came out of absolutely nowhere just to be like, I feel you, girl. I turned from criminal to a citizen as well. And you really didn't allow that precedent to be set by saying I would like to go to prison for life without a chance of parole. I'm like, why do we need to put without a chance of parole on the board? We could have stopped with life in prison. I felt like we was overselling it. For some reason, Kramer's not happy about this because she's more interested in getting and I think she did it because, like, I think there has to be a reason why. She's like, well, this will be easy for me. Maybe she had no other people who she might be able to bring in. I feel if this was what she was really after, there's like 40 million other people in Iron Heights. I'm sure you can have a case for. I don't know. Maybe this was just the one that she felt she could make it work. But apparently, because Cecile who still is a lawyer, says that, you know, you said you wanted her to be punished for her crimes. This is punishment. She will not be able to harm anyone if she's in prison, so I don't understand why you needed to take her powers. But it's clear that Kramer has a huge respect for Joe. And she comes to say, I got all my stuff, I'm leaving. And Joe's like, okay.
There's the door. Bye, Felicia.
But she does say, even if you don't like me, you know, I do respect you as a law enforcement a man in your commitment to justice. And then Joe kind of surprises her by saying, you know what? I respect your commitment to justice. Despite me and you not on the same page here, it's clear you want to do the right thing. You clearly have a respect for the law. She didn't do anything illegal. And you might want to just consider what side of the law that you're on. Maybe your past experiences have made you bitter. And maybe you have a problem with all metahumans, even though you say you have an issue with only the criminals. But it'll start with the criminals and then it'll be other people. Because let's just not pretend as if Barry Allen has not created so much shit. Just saw the bus metas, the meta tech. Every time there's a problem in Central City, it kind of goes back to Barry Allen and Star Labs. While clearly he's done more good, there's not to say there isn't a case that he also causes a lot of bad. What I did really like about this episode is that they did not make the whole entire episode about one thing. They did give us a kind of break from the trial and really started continuing moving the plot forward with the forces. I think that was one of the more successful parts of this episode, where when they're alerted to some seismic activity or some signatures, they think they've located Freza. Is it Freza? And she's part of the Strength Force. So they trace it all the way back to a woman named Alexa Garcia, which we had met a little bit earlier. She seems to be a little bit of a tech. Or was she doing tech? I'm not sure. But Iris and Barry and Nora are involved in this plot. Nora goes with Barry to, you know, talk to her about possibly being who she is. And he also wants her to come back to Star Labs. And she's like, you got to be out of your damn mind. And I was with her. Like, yeah, you want to run some tests on me? I don't think so. She's like, I'm not a meta. I don't know what you're talking about. But Nora gets all aggressive for the first time and not the last. Talking about, I I think that first she made her go talk, like, we need to go handle this situation. But she doesn't accompany them because Nora's giving off the, you gonna do what I say, not what I mean type of vibe. But then Barry in his flash gear, the more trustworthy side of his persona, shows up to talk to her about what's been going on. Like, hey, I get it, you're scared, but I'm telling you, something's going on with you. And then she admits the fact that she's been blacking out. She doesn't know what's going on. She doesn't know what she's done. And it really freaks her out. And she's scared. So she has no idea. And we kind of figured that, or at least I was figuring that, that she didn't know exactly what she was doing because she turned into a whole different person. But what was that sound then that distracted her the first time that she showed up? I still want to know the answer to that. Barry is able to do, well, first, you had Nora wanting to just destroy her, like, because she needs Barry's lightning, part of his lightning, to give her the full strength she needs to take out these other forces, which is what we're learning. But, like, she tells Barry straight up, we got to take her out. We're going to force her to do the test. Actually, we're just going to drag her ass here. And that's when Iris is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's not how we do this. You new to this shit, but we don't do kidnapping. That's not how it works. She's like, this is between me and Barry. I need you to see your way ass out because I'm the mother. And Iris is like, I'm the wife. Barry choose. And I love the way that Iris says it. It's not like Barry choose. It's more like, it's up to you, honey. And Barry was like, well, I know where I'm sleeping tonight and it ain't with your ass. So yes, I'm about to listen to my wife zoom over in my flash costume and talk to this lady. And yes, it gets her back to the lab and she voluntarily takes the test. And then you have Nora next to Iris, and I knew something was up.
Can't see me through my tents. I'm riding real slow, and my paint wet, dripping, shining like my 24s. I don't got 24s.
She definitely got territorial real quick. Was like, oh, I can see why you're his lightning rod. I'm like, bitch, that is not your baby boy, and you need to know that. And I'm feeling like, you know, given a force emotions, they don't know what the fuck to do with that. So then, as they confirm that she is indeed Foreza, he deactivates the test and he tells her, look, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna figure this out. And just then, you got Nora blasting her ass with some lightning.
Oh my God.
Nora said there is only one woman in his life. And while you may be his lightning rod, I'm his actual lightning. And lobs a freaking blast of lightning at Iris, knowing that Iris would block it. Now, there's some debate like, oh, she wouldn't have harmed Iris. That don't mean shit. She still threw a whole ass lightning bolt at her. And I invited you in my house. You sleeping in my sheets. What the fuck? No. There's no excuse for her actions, even if she would not have harmed her, because one, Barry would literally end your existence, and she ain't that stupid. But she gets the lightning she needs to combine their powers and locks a ball, hurling that shit right at Alexa and killing her.
Wow, you got it. Wow, you got it. Wow, you got it.
So she's really about protecting me and me alone. Like, this is something you're gonna do, Barry, whether you want to or not. I'm like, no, Nora, no. She's such a petty bitch. And she been. I'm telling you. That's why she got in with Iris in the first place. It's like, let me befriend the wifey, and then he ain't gonna have no choice. Now Barry and Iris look horrified. Like, oh my God. And I know Barry's thinking,
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Barry's like, girl, I know you was trying to help, but this the same woman that was like, Your life is now irrevocably going to be destroyed because I chose you. Your mama dying, that was a necessary sacrifice. So you just knew that the Speed Force was not going to be thinking emotionally, but absolutely and utterly rationally. And now they're going to have to deal with his crazy ass lookalike mama running around killing folks. I don't know what's happening next because I did not watch the promos, and if there's some info in the feedback, I'm gonna slap someone. So let's jump into it.
Hey Christina, it's me, Shy. I am here to talk about The Flash, episode 8, of this season 7. I debated on whether to send feedback because I really didn't watch the whole episode, to be honest. I watched all the Barry, Speed Force, Nora, and Iris stuff, and I watched some of the Frost stuff, but not all of it, so I really don't have too much to say in regards to that, other than just I was more curious about why Kristen Kramer had that vendetta, or that was out to get Frost, and why did she specifically target Frost when there's a whole slew of metas in Central City that are committing crimes, and some in Iron Heights including that stupid villain from last episode. So of course he's not really a meta, so I guess that he wouldn't count. But we see that she's trying that meta-human cure thing came back to the forefront in this one, the bane of my existence, because I really didn't like that storyline when it was introduced in season 5, but okay. Excuse me. So yeah, and then we hear her backstory and why she feels the way she feels, which again, I mean ultimately, Frost did commit crimes and she never paid for those crimes, but so haven't a lot of other metas that haven't paid for their crimes, and they end up joining heroes and I guess being redeemed. So I mean, I don't feel like Frost had a true redemptive arc. It just, she showed up and they were like, okay, even though you tried to kill us, we'll give you a chance because Caitlyn said so. I don't know, whatever, however that played out, it is what it is. But the plot that I was interested in, because it's going to dictate what happens the rest of the season as far as this graphic novel, is the Forces storyline. And so very excited to see what's going on with that. We see that Speed Force Nora and Barry are trying to track down the other forces. They've finally tracked down the Strength Force, and we see her in her human form, Alexa, and Speed Force is acting like a hot mess. It's wanting to get rid of all the forces, and this one included. We see her, Iris and the Speed Force get into it because the Speed Force just wants to, neutralize the threats of these forces. And Iris is like, okay, we don't know what we're dealing with, and that's not how we operate. This is not how we do things. And Speed Force wasn't on board with that. She wanted Barry to be on. I keep saying she, but it wanted Barry to be on its side, and Barry obviously chose wifey, because come on now, when is he not going to choose wifey? Especially when he already had his suspicions and hesitation about the Speed Force anyway. So not surprising that he not that it mattered, he's going to side with his wife regardless. And so we we go along, and Barry, the Flash, was able to convince Alexa to come back so they can run some tests, and the Speed Force is still butthurt that Barry didn't go along with her plan, but went along with what Iris thought was best. And so, and here's my thing with the Speed Force. I have a huge question mark on her story, or its story, about what happened. I feel like the Speed Force initiated all of the contact that's been with the other forces, and then they just reacted to that. I mean, because they don't. I mean, it's like, other than that, Fueza attack, but she explained what that was about. They're not actively pursuing the Speed Force. They're not even thinking about the Speed Force. The only one that's got the forces on the brain is the Speed Force, because everybody else seems to be minding their own business. Dion is minding his own business. Alexa is minding her own business, and the psych guy, he's minding his own business. So it's them seeking the forces out, and then so that's why I'm thinking that the Speed Force is trying to dominate the other forces, and then it went out and saw out Psych and Strength Force, and then got its butt kicked, and now it's butt hurt and wants to get back at them because it feels like these other forces are potential threats to it. If not now, then in the future or at some point. So she wants to neutralize the threat before they gain more power. And we all saw that the Speed Force died last season, so maybe it feels some kind of way about that and wants to ensure its survival. And this is more of a survival of the fittest type thing. I don't know the Force's storyline, so this is where Sasha comes in to really hone in on that. But I just feel like that's what's happening, that that's the battle. But it's the Speed Force that really started this whole thing. I don't think because again, they're not even actively doing anything to her now, but it is seeking them out, wanting Barry to join forces and destroying them before they become a thing. And so we see at the end of the episode that the Speed Force finally figured out a way to get to Barry, to manipulate Barry into doing what it wants him to do, because clearly in its eyes, Iris is going to be a roadblock to Barry doing what it wants it to do. So it played the cards that it was dealt and said, you're his lightning rod, so guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to use you to get him to do what I need him to do, which is use his powers. And it knows that Barry will always first and foremost protect his wife. And so when it threatened Iris and through the lightning, that's what Barry did. Instinctively, he jumped in front of her, threw lightning back to protect her and them, and that's what the Speed Force wanted. That's what the Speed Force needed to do what it did. And so it used Barry's love and for his wife against him, and that knowledge that he would do anything for her to get what it wanted. So, and that's where we stand in this one. So very excited to see what happens next, and where we go from here. So that I doubt that the Strength Force, aka Alexa, is dead. I just think, it's just like this Speed Force wasn't really dead, just hurt really bad, and they brought it back to life. So I'm thinking the same thing with Alexa. So but that's all I got. I don't know this story. I don't read the comics. so I don't really have an idea of how this is supposed to work, but that's what I'm excited about. That's what I love to see. Sad to hear that Carlos and Tom are leaving, but not surprised. So it'll be interesting to see Tom come back whenever he comes back, and see how their stories, their character arcs end, and how they ride out into the sunset. So I mean, we haven't seen Camilla this whole time, so in the proper season 7, so that is going to be interesting. So I don't know, I just feel like they haven't done Cisco's character justice anyway. They barely even show his relationship. They barely even show the girlfriend that he's so in love with and can't live without. So yeah, it was about that time. They were that for him to move on to other things. They're not invested in his character like they should be. I would much rather have seen arcs with him instead of what we tend to get every season. So whatever. On that note, until next time, much love, peace, and Black Girl Magic, Queen of the Couch, Shy.
That was Shy with her feedback and opinions. I'm going to address the last one because I was like, whoa. Unless you got some inside scoop I'm not aware of, which drop it in the tag. But I don't know if that's a fair statement to throw. Oh, shoot. I just turned my phone off. I don't know if that's a fair statement to be like the writers are dogging out his character and not. First and foremost, I don't know about you, but I don't need to see Camilla. I'm of the opinion you don't need to see everyone's love story in anyone's show. You're all not main characters. There's no reason why I need to be invested in every single last thing everyone does. That's my number one. Secondly, I don't give a shit about Camilla. So if you really love that character and that relationship, then so be your feelings about how they're handling that. But I don't know if that's a fair comment to make because, like we just said, he's been contemplating leaving the show for 2 whole seasons. So if you're a production, what are you gonna do if someone's in and out? We don't know. And I will say that part, I don't know how much is Carlos Valdez and how much they're accommodating his schedule. I feel for the last 2 years they've been accommodating his schedule to keep him on the show. Thus, his arcs are not as concrete because you're writing for someone that may be in it or maybe not. Maybe I'm writing him for the last time this season. Maybe I'm not. That's a hard position to put anybody in. But I do know for a fact from what I did read is that Carlos was definitely given a lot of leadway and not liking his arcs versus, I don't think they purposely said, let's shit on his storyline because he might be leaving the show. I mean, I think they tried to wrap it up in places that the best they could do now it was under, once again, Todd, and that's not Eric. So that's a whole different group. So I don't know. Like I said, I'm not in all of the business, so I don't know what is, but I would not have made that call because I don't have that information to make that call. I don't even think that his storylines have been necessarily shitty. They may not be what people want, but they haven't been, like, he comes in and he's still given, his same due as that character, but how far are we going to write you out and how much you want to invest the audience if you're really not going to be here? And maybe you just feel differently and you feel they should do that. But I think that that's a waste of resources, in my humble opinion. But that I go 3D. I'm thinking about the writers. I'm thinking about the producers. I'm thinking about people's schedules. That shit is a lot to juggle. And when you're trying to do a precise 22, not knowing where you coming and going, that's a lot to put on anybody. And if his storyline has suffered because of that, it would be because of accommodation purposes, it would feel, versus any negligence on the show's side. Otherwise, they wouldn't have tried to fight so hard to keep him. They would just kill him off or do something. They're trying to even that last season, they were trying to regurgitate the idea of bringing his powers back. But if the guy is going like, I don't know, then you can't literally write you a whole arc to do this when we don't know if you're coming or going. So that's my 2 cents about that. I was just like, damn, I feel like she stabbed someone for like reasons that I'm not aware of. And yeah, I don't need to see him and Camilla's relationship. Why? I don't need to know what Allegra's doing outside. I don't even care what Chester P. Runk is doing out. And not if it does not relate to any of the names. It's too many fucking people. Maybe some people really love other people and just knowing all. I don't. I like to get to the point of things, and we have our crew. That's it. It's just, I think that, to me, that's the over part of the show I don't like. So I don't need to know what y'all doing, and you're like, and it's fine. It's fine. Everyone doesn't need to have a life. And yeah, it's clear Nora is, I agree with you on that, the aggressor. I said that in the podcast. And yeah, okay. If you think Alicia is still alive, I'll go with it. But I'm like, bitch, she dead. Iris's look when she went over and she had this big old charcoal black. I mean, that's a lot. That's like 12,000 volts. I don't care how much strength force you got up in you. You didn't even get to block the shot. She just tossed her full speed of the Speed Force at this girl. That's probably what she needed and why she sought Barry out in the first place, because she needed that last 5%. I don't know, but the way that Iris shook her head like, no, we can't get her to life support. Because I would think if she was still alive, Barry would just speed over and get her to the med lab. She shook her head like, and didn't even roll her over. Like, no, she dead. They did a she dead the way, and you know how they don't really focus on people dying because it's an 8 o'clock show. The same way they killed Abracadabra. He just pot shot, he was like, yeah, he dead. He ain't moving. He is not moving, and ain't nobody trying to get him attention. That's the clear sign to me that they did, but I could be surprised. Maybe you know something in that I don't know. Because I know you do watch the thing, so I'm glad that you didn't spoil me on anything, but and yeah, if I keep going back to how the Speed Force ain't really ever been a good friend. He did put him in prison. It put him in prison for like 6 fucking months. Talking about I'm healing you. Let me see. You were the last thing about you mentioned the redemption. I'm starting to hate that word, quite frankly, because it's not all encompassing. First and foremost, all 3 people, like I stated earlier, it's kind of like if you did a crime with someone and all 3 people ain't willing to press charges. Yeah, the state can still go after it, but then they're just being petty at that moment. That's what's happening to Frost. So if the people, and I know you said because Caitlyn said, and I'm like, but she didn't. That's not how. I know you don't watch her scenes, but that's not how it went down. She was working at a bar. Cisco came and got her. She came to help. Yeah, I remember all the details. Yep. Can't let you slide. Just can't toss out stuff. I got to fact check because I know somebody's fact checking me. Like, but you didn't mention. Okay, fine, I got it. So it's not because Caitlyn said forgive everybody. That's not how it happened. And you know, she didn't even want to come back. She was like, I'm about to go do my own shit. But then her powers started conflicting, and that's how she got back in the group. Whatever the case may be, Joe sure as shit did not. He just saw her and was like, all's forgiven. And honestly, after all the shit that Barry does, because we keep forgetting the times in which he goes straight up villain. They're like, this is a part of our life. Look at all the whales that came in our lives and lied to us. If we don't forgive people, then we wouldn't have anyone around. That's where my point is. And why the whole storyline of the jail just didn't make sense to me. Because what's the point? And like you even said, we got Eva who did so much damage and we just let her, the hero, walk into her world and call it a day. That this is why you could see them on their perspective being like, okay, this is dumb. Because all the people involved that she did do the crime. And I was waiting for them to mention some other stuff that we didn't know about. We did not. So we heard what Shy's opinion is. Let's hear what Mimi has to say.
What up, Stina? This is Mimi sending in feedback for The Flash. Believe it or not, this is not going to be very long because I did not enjoy this episode until probably the last 5 minutes of it. For the most part, it was focused on Frost, and I knew going in that it was going to be focused on it, but I don't care how many years this show goes on. Danielle Panabega is just not a good actress, and seeing her distraught, and I use those in quotes, over Frost, going to jail, was just so ridiculous because she's such a terrible actress. I know what you're thinking, but I try to give this episode the benefit of the doubt. I went in excited because we haven't seen The Flash in like a month, and this was going to be, a good episode. I was hoping we had another story plot, which we did. And I was hoping that we got to see some of the other forces interact with Barry Allen and the Flash. And we did. We got some answers. But the majority of this episode was about the trial. And I feel like this was just a way for them to get rid of Frost, because Danielle Panabega would always complain. Every time I would see an article that would talk about Killer Frost, she complained about, the makeup, the eyes, so she probably didn't want to be it anymore. So this was their way of getting rid of her. I don't know why they couldn't just kill her, why we had to go through this drawn out trial that was ridiculous. Like the agent, I really don't even care what her name is at this point, but like when she was like, I'm doing this for your own good, like that shit just irked me so much. Like, what is she trying to do? Like, you're trying to make this a precedent so you can just get rid of someone's powers, and then we find out it's because a metahuman that claimed to be good fooled you and killed your entire platoon. If that ain't the most convoluted, overused pile of shit, I would have honestly I would have felt better about her had it just been, metahumans with powers are dangerous and we need to get rid of them. Like, why does it always have to be like a revenge type thing? Because then it makes me not want to root for you. Like, if you just said, like, Star Labs created these metahumans, and the only time we ever see the metahumans is when they're doing something freaking terrible. They're destroying the city, they're killing people, and no matter what over the last couple of years, no matter how much good she did, she still did bad things, and she needs to lose her powers. They could have easily even made it so that because she's, a metahuman made entirely from DNA, like the cure could have killed her. Anything. I'm talking about Frost. Like the whole, bringing that up, like, oh my God, it might kill you. And then like, oh, my mom says it's fine. When did y'all start talking like that? Y'all best friends now? Y'all be texting and calling? Okay. So that was something else that kind of irritated me, that relationship just mended off screen and we're just supposed to be okay with that. Whatever. But then, she's only doing this to Killer Frost because she wants to get rid of the powers and get revenge and blah, 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 blah. And then we just had to watch Frost and Caitlin, who, even though I guess they're supposed to be sisters, like, I don't know why. Caitlin, I don't know why, maybe it was just me, but like her reaction just seems so extra. And then it's like, you're not even a good enough actress to be this emotional. So like, maybe you should tone it down. I don't know, even like going behind her back and using Allegra to and Cisco to destroy the cure that they created. Let's add that in there because this was their stupid ass idea. And when they made it, they were like, it can only be a choice. Like, once you give the fucking government something, you don't have any control over how the fuck they use it. So the sheer shock that they want to use it to punish metahumans accused of a crime, And they were like, it was only supposed to be by choice. Did you really think that they were going to just go with that? Ugh. We knew as soon as they created the metahuman cure that this is going to be an issue. And I'm sure we're going to have to deal with this stupid thing all over again. I just felt like this whole storyline was unnecessary. And having to watch Danielle Panabega pretend like she's a good actress was just honestly nauseating. I'm going to be done talking about that because I can't even anymore. On the side note, we got to see the Strength Force humans form, and then just like I thought, she didn't know what was happening to her. She's a recovering addict who bettered her life, and now she's dead. And like, I was trying to not be suspicious about Nora Speed Force. Oh, I hate calling her that. The Speed Force. I was trying to like stop, because I'm always suspicious about everybody, and this is on every show that I watch. I just, even when someone used to be a hero, I'm always immediately suspicious. And just how the Speed Force is so hell-bent on destroying these forces. Even the Steel Force, who was minding his business. He ain't bothered by nobody. So seeing that she's actually there to kill all these forces, and she even tried to hit fucking Iris with a lightning rod. And granted, I think she did that because she knew Barry would protect her and shoot some forces at her, and she could use that, whatever. But still, like, that was probably the only thing that saved this episode, was that whole storyline. When she went all hard on what was her name? Vanessa, I think was her name. The Strength Force, like, you're coming with us. It's like, bitch, can you calm down? She was really thinking about going to Star Labs, and you just had to go in there and go all hard. I knew some shit was up. I was like, why is she even allowed to come? Like, keep your ass in Star Labs. We don't need the speed goddess following around mere mortals. Just sit your ass down. Like, I don't know why they even let her come. They should have just made her ass stay in Star Labs. And then for her to just kill the Strength Force. Like, I thought we were going to have these forces for like ever, but I guess not. And the fact that her lightning is all these different colors, like the same color as the forces, I don't know, that has to mean something. Usually the lightning color in this show does mean something. But this will be interesting. Finally, we're gonna get some answers. I would like to hear some theories, so this goes out to Sasha and Christina. I'm gonna need y'all to start educating me on these forces so I can get some theories bubbling up in my mind. Now, usually with gods and goddesses, I'm just thinking because I used to be really into Greek mythology. Like, they're neither good nor bad. They see something as either one thing or the other, and usually it becomes good or evil to humans. So to me, the Speed Force might not think what she's doing is wrong because she truly thinks that these forces are trying to kill her, or maybe she knows it's either them or me, and she wants Barry to be on her side. I don't know that she's necessarily evil, just like I don't think she was trying to kill Iris. I think she just went to shoot Iris because she knew Barry would protect her and she needed his lightning bolt. I could be wrong, so I guess I'll wait and see what you guys have to say. That's really all I have to say about this episode. Like I said, was not a fan. Probably would never watch this episode again. It was not cute at all. So I'll end it here. Until next time, love, peace, hair grease, the Black Girl Magic, Queen of the Couch, Mimi out.
That was Mimi with her thoughts on the episode. And y'all know me. No, I agree with everything you said. Just because I stick up for Frost on occasion does not mean I don't agree with points when they're made. I can't just let you throw out things that aren't necessarily true unless I know for a fact otherwise. But no, I completely agree with everything, because you're like, you know what, I know what you're gonna say. You didn't know what I was gonna say. You didn't know what I was gonna say. I was gonna say what I'm saying is you're absolutely right. That whole story was stupid. I think this was a terrible roundabout way to try to introduce the idea of the government starting to be more heavily involved in, you know, things that are going around, which that's fair. That, I mean, it's about time the Marvel cinematic, or this DC world would start to put the government aspect in there. And their TV shows, it just came very clunkily. It didn't mash together. But, you know, it's also well known that DP cannot handle the majority of an episode. She does not have the capacity to, like, I think we mentioned it earlier, she does a lot better job directing than she does actually acting. And then some of her reactions were, like, when she was screaming at her, like, I don't want to lose my sister, and you could just take the care, and she just really gave no shits. And I was like, this is all very melodrama for melodrama's sake versus it really needs to be happening. So I agree completely there. I have no debates about that particular. I mean, but I didn't like any Ralph episode. I don't think he was someone who had the capacity either to hold an episode. Every single last one, he was front and center. I hated them. So that's to be expected. So I went in with a great deal of, I'm probably not going to love this side of the story, but I want to know how they're going to handle it. And it turns out that they handled it rather like I expected. But I will say, I think you said that most of the episode was balanced on her. I guess that's fair. I thought it was a good deal. At least 1/3. Yeah, I guess 2/3 versus 1/3. But yeah, I like the Barry and stuff a lot better, of course, because the acting is there too. Because all of the scenes that were happening with Barry weren't the most, you know, I'm in my CSI and now I'm in my bed. Barry just tells everybody he's the fucking Flash, so you know they gotta die. If he tells them he's the Flash, they're most likely gonna die in that episode. I'm surprised he didn't reveal himself to Abracadabra and stuff. I think Abra already knew who he was. So that's another big thing. I was like, dude, do you need to tell like everyone? And I think everything else that you said about the Speed Force, yes, I agree with that as well. Like, you don't throw low lightning. I don't care if you didn't intend to hurt her. That's Iris. You don't do anything to Iris. And you talk about you suspicious of everything. Where was that suspicion when it came to Marcus? Yeah, I'm still talking about raised by wolves. Yeah, don't remind me that they actually created the cure. Dumbasses. It's when you was trying to get rid of Killer Frog. That was a dumbass storyline. I think Shy said it wasn't her favorite either. No one's gonna debate these things. But I also have to keep recalling this is under season 5 mess. Sometimes you inherited a show, you inherited the good things, and you also inherit the fucking mess. And since DP is not going anywhere, we're gonna have to continue with cleaning up the mess and hopefully setting it on a course that is a little bit more now. And you mentioned something too about the fact that you think that this means Frost is gone. Now, I don't know about those interviews, so that was news to me. But I didn't automatically assume that she was gone from the show and we would never see her again. If that was really her last episode, that was pretty damn underwhelming. Plus, they just put that one guy in jail and he's not a meta. So they're going to be, well, I guess she would be in meta prison, wouldn't she? I don't fucking know. But yeah, that was her last appearance. That was remarkably underwhelming. And now I'm sadder because I only have Caitlyn, and no one wanted Caitlyn. If I was going to do a trade-off, it was always going to be Frost. So there. Now we have to see what that entails next week. If, you know, Alicia, is that her name, is still alive. and if Frost really is gone for good. 2 lingering questions in my mind, 2 very concrete conclusions in my girls' minds. So we shall see. If you want to join in the conversation, blackgirlcouch@gmail.com, or you can leave a comment below on this podcast. My social media will be there as well. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Until next time, peace, hair grease, and black girl magic.